So in this module, we look at the current National Education Policy, which is National Education Policy 2017. So how this policy is different? So this policy is the first policy which came after the 18th Amendment, when education was finally transferred to the provinces. So education sector has always been constitutionally has always been with the provinces, but federal government had a lot to say and a lot to give advice about education in the last 70 or last 60 years before 2010. So, but after 2010, gradually the role of federal government was decreased. Then this policy was also after a new article was added in the 19th Amendment in the Constitution, Article 25A, which said that free and compulsory education for all children aged 5 to 16 was declared a fundamental right, and it became a state responsibility. So that was another change. The third change was that we moved from the MDGs, with the Millennium Development Goals, to SDGs, which is Sustainable Development Goals. So Millennium Development Goals, there were 8 Millennium Development Goals, and basically they looked at from 2000 to 2015, different targets had to be achieved. And if you look at the second one, it is directly related to education, which is achieve universal primary education. So that was one of the targets, which of course we failed to achieve. Another target which was linked with this education was promote gender equality and empower women. Of course, if we can't make or reduce gender inequality in education, we can't think of empowering women. An uneducated woman is usually a woman which is suppressed and oppressed. So usually to achieve something, women have to be educated. So we move from MDGs to SDGs, and there are 17 goals of Sustainable Development Goals, and the fourth one is quality of education. So in the MDGs we focus on quantity, universalization of education, but here we move from quantity to quality. Of course, there are other goals which are related to education. For example, again, gender equality, decent work and economic growth, which cannot be achieved without education. Of course, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities. So all these things, peace, justice, and strong institutions, so all these are related to education. So in 2015 was the inter-provincial education ministers. So of course now it's this area was with the provinces. So inter-provincial education minister conference was called, and they said that there should be a policy, and they allowed the federal government to be the coordinator and facilitator for this policy. So ministry constituted a team of experts which had education and decades of experience related to education, and 8 policy chapters were decided that 8 areas will be focused on, and in each area there will be conceptual framework, goals, constitutional and legal provisions, significance, situation analysis, challenges, and implementation strategy. It was this, and these papers and chapters were approved in February 2016, and then ministry opened this draft policy to the public for opinions from civil society, from individuals, from other people. And then, of course, the revised policy was approved with the comments after incorporating the comments of different NGOs and CSOs and even donors. The policy was approved. This policy is currently in working in operation, and we will look at it in more detail in the next module. Thank you.